afternoon, thank you for joining me. I've just noticed that my cardigan is draped over the back of the banister. I've already moved the hoover out of shot, but hadn't managed to do that. So there we are, it's gone now. I might put it on actually, it's feeling a little bit chilly. A little bit windswept, although I haven't left the house today other than to go outside to put some stock outside. But anyway, it's time for book club. First of all, let me say how happy I am that so many of you joined the Facebook group, which is all linked below if you want to come and join, if you're a new viewer. And I was so glad that so many of you seem to have really enjoyed the book. We haven't discussed it yet in the Facebook group. I'm going to put this video live and the discussion questions in the Facebook group at the same time, which is on, I think I decided it was going to be Friday this week. So we'll have all the discussion and the video will go live at the same time. But a lot of you have said that you finished the book and really enjoyed it. And I was overwhelmed by the amount of people. I think we've got somewhere in the region of about 150 members now in the group, which is absolutely brilliant. I'm so happy that so many of you have embraced it. It's obviously something that you're all really keen on, which is absolutely brilliant. And I have to say, I should say at this point as well, there will be spoilers about the book in this video. We are going to be talking about Together by Julie Cohen, which was the October read that I chose for the book club. And what an absolutely stonking brilliant book to start with. I didn't know very much about it before I chose it. I knew that it was a Richard and Judy book. I read a book that had been read or chosen by the Richard and Judy book club in the past, which I've enjoyed a lot of books over the years that have been in the Richard and Judy book club, which was one reason I chose it. I also have read a couple of other books by the author and I've enjoyed her writing in the past, which was another reason I chose it. And I read the blurb on the back and it sounded interesting, which was the third reason. And just my ice machine in the fridge making that noise. If you can hear it, it will stop in a minute. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I read it while I was on holiday at the beginning of this month, and just I couldn't put it down. I thought it was lovely. I thought it was different and unusual. It kept me guessing right to the end. It was just absolutely brilliant. I really, really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars, and I'm quite mean with my 5-star ratings on books. So for me to give it a 5-star, it has to be really good. I have to find it really different and not just run-of-the-mill. So yeah, for me it was a 5-star read. I absolutely enjoyed it. I hope everybody else did as well. I've got to admit, when I first started reading it, I was a little bit concerned because it had in the first chapter, Robbie, one of the main characters, has dementia. And some of you may know already, I've talked about it on here before, that my dad has dementia and Alzheimer's, and I'm struggling a little bit with that at the moment. I don't go into the details and stuff on here, it's not my story to tell particularly, but I have been finding it hard this year. And so when I started reading the book, and I thought, oh God, it's not going to be this all the way through, is it? I really haven't got the appetite for reading a novel based around dementia, as well as, you know, having it going on very close to home in real life as well. Luckily that wasn't the case, as we all know if we've read it, and it was just really the first chapter, so I was quite pleased about that. If I'm looking down, I have notes here. Something I've learned from book club during our first month is make the blimmin' video, Caroline, answering the questions as soon as you finish the book, because doing it 3 days later, you have to go back. I did make all the notes at the time, but I've just read through them, and I had to go and read some reviews and stuff to remind myself what I was actually talking about. My memory is not what it once was, talking of dementia. So I've got some questions. As I said, I'm going to put these into the Facebook group as well. I will read them out, and then I'm going to give you my answers for the questions and talk about a little bit what I thought about it. And the first question says, the structure of this novel sets it apart from your traditional love story. Unlike most love stories, it starts with the end of the couple's story and rolls backwards to when they first meet. Did you enjoy the way the story was told, and how do you think the backward structure affected your reaction to The Secret? I really liked the way it was told. I think because I was reading it on holiday, I didn't have any issues with the structure, jumping backwards, because I was reading big chunks at a time. I think perhaps if you were reading it in little chunks, it might have been harder to keep up with what was where and what was going on. But I really liked the way it was went from the present step by step backwards. I thought it was a really clever way to tell a story, and reminded me a little bit of The Time Traveller's Wife. I don't know if anybody ever read that or saw the film, but that was sort of similar. And also One Day, it was another the David Nicholls book, which was also made into a film. Not a particularly good film. The book was better, I always thought, on that one. But I could see this being made into a film, actually. I think this would make an absolutely brilliant film. That's just a thought that's crossed my mind as I've said that. But does anybody else think that? I think it would be really good. So yeah, I really liked the backward structure. I thought it worked really well. And I thought that this added to the way the secret was revealed, because by the time you get to the secret, or the reveal, or the twist, whatever you want to call it, you are very invested in the characters, and you feel like you know them really well. So the secret doesn't seem as shocking as it might have done if you knew them less well. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean? I think obviously the fact that they are half siblings and have been living as a married couple, you know, that is something that in our society is deemed as very wrong. But having become invested in them as characters, I think that gave me more sympathy towards their situation, because I knew what they'd been through and I knew how they got to the place that they were at, if that makes sense. I must stop saying if that makes sense. It's a verbal tick I've got, I know. So yeah, that's my answer to that question. The next question is, how does the author foreshadow the secret that Emily and Robbie are hiding? Did you see it coming? Now, obviously, there is a secret there, isn't there? It's very obvious all the way through that. But I thought the secret, when the first bit was revealed about their son, I've forgotten all the characters' names because I read it so long ago. I really must do the video closer to reading it next time. When the secret became apparent about their son having been, the adoption of their son having been questionable, let's say, I thought that the final secret would be in some way related to that. I didn't say the secret coming at all until the mother sort of collapsed at the cooker when Robbie came into the kitchen at the end. I realised at that point what it probably was, but it was so, I thought it was so well hidden. I'm really good at guessing twists and things, or pretty good at guessing twists and seeing things coming in books, I guess because I've read a lot over the years. But yeah, I didn't see that coming at all. And interestingly, I was talking to Carla, my friend who's also read the book, and she said that she thought the secret was going to be that they'd murdered somebody, which, yeah, I can see that as well when I think about it. That would be of something that bound them together like that, wouldn't it? A secret. So yeah, I'd be interested to hear everybody else's take on that question as well. The next question is, what did you think about the secret itself? How did it make you feel, and in what ways did it affect your view of Robbie and Emily? In your opinion, were they right to stay together? That secret, it stayed with me for days afterwards. That's a sign of a good book, isn't it? When you still can't stop thinking about it days after you finish reading it. And sorry, I'm just reading through my notes here, and I said that the secret didn't really change my view. It didn't really affect the way I was thinking about them. I looked at it, but they tried very hard to be apart, hadn't they, for years, and they'd both gone off and married other people, and they were both unhappy. And when they met again by chance, they realised that they would be happier together than apart. So it wasn't like they hadn't tried to be apart, and obviously they did take sensible precautions in terms of not having a child. And I think the thing is, with something like that, as long as you're not hurting anybody, although that's questionable whether families hurt by it, I suppose, but I don't know, as long as you're not physically causing harm or I don't know, it's a questionable one, isn't it? But yeah, for me, I thought they were right to stay together. I didn't have a problem with it. I think that was probably the right decision for them as the story was written. The next question is, how did you feel about the opening moments of the novel? Did you sympathise with Robbie's decision to die to save Emily from exposure, or did you think he was wrong? I've already talked a little bit about the opening and my thoughts about, you know, the dementia thing, and I do feel that suicide is a selfish option. Generally speaking, I'm not talking in specifics here. However, I can see why he did it. I thought it was very brave, and I thought it was very appropriate to how Robbie's character had been built. He would do anything to protect Emily, and that's how he saw what he was doing. Of course, you have to also add into the mix that he did have dementia and perhaps wasn't completely in his right mind. So yeah, I thought it was very well written in that I felt it was appropriate for his character to do that, to commit suicide. And really, ultimately, for Robbie, Emily was more important to him than he himself was. That was how much he loved her. So I guess you can understand why he did that. The next question is, how does the author use the ocean throughout the novel as a setting and almost as a character? And it was obviously very bound up, wasn't it, as there was lots of reference to the sea. It was very much a part of the novel. I like the fact that it gave it atmosphere. I think it's very difficult to use that sort of elements and things and write them well without those bits of the books dragging a little bit. Do you know what I mean? And I felt that it actually didn't. I felt that it was really well written. There wasn't too much boaty sea type stuff, and what there was relevant to the book and was well written. And also, of course, at the end, Robbie kills himself by swimming out to sea, doesn't he? So that was very much an important part of how it ended, or began, if you like. I really liked the scene when Robbie and his son and, was it grandson or was it, yeah, grandson, I think. I can't remember, or perhaps it was his two sons, wasn't it? Adam, was it, and the other older son, I can't remember the names, sorry, I know that's really bad, were all sanding the boat together. I thought that was just such a lovely scene, and that really came alive in my mind. I could just see them there doing that. I thought that was a really nicely written scene. The final question that I want to answer is, one of the most difficult decisions for Emily and Robbie in the novel is whether to tell anyone about the adoption of their son Adam. How did you feel about their choice, and did you see it in a different light once you knew all their reasons for making it? And for me, I thought it was the right choice, and even in hindsight at the end and seeing everything that happened, I still felt it was the right choice. I didn't think that they'd done anything they shouldn't have done there, because even if they had come clean and been honest about it, just imagine the upheaval that would have caused for Adam himself, and not necessarily in a good way. So yeah, for me, I thought it was the right decision, really. Right, that's all the questions. As I said, absolutely loved the book, really enjoyed it. I hope you guys all did as well. I just wanted to mention another book. If you were interested at all in the stolen children adoption scandal in the US, I read a very good novel based around that last year, which I wanted to recommend. It's called, what was it called? I thought about it just now. I can't remember what it was called. It was by Lisa Wingate. Anyway, I'm going to look it up and I'll do a split screen here so you can see it. And I will, before we were something, I think. hopeless, aren't I? I will link it in the description box for you anyway. Highly recommend. That was a 5-star read from me from last year. Really good book, and I didn't know anything about the adoption scandal before that. So yeah, that's a recommend. The only thing left to do is to mention the book that we're going to read for this month, for November even. I put a poll in the Facebook group asking people what their favourite genres of book and reading were, and by far the highest one, the top one, was psychological thrillers. So I selected 3 psychological thrillers and put them to the vote in the Facebook group, and the one that came out with the most votes is the one that we're going to read for November, and it is called The Holiday by T M Logan. I have linked it in the description box below if you want to go and pick up a copy from Amazon. And I'm looking forward to reading that. Let me know what you thought of the structure of this video, if it worked well for you, if you can think of any better way to do it. Sorry, my cats are just fighting in the kitchen there. Yeah, if any constructive criticism about how I'm doing these videos would be appreciated, that would be good. Right, that is it. I will see you next month for another book club video. Looking forward to reading this next one, and see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.